Welcome to the Plush Life, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a couple of different wonderful features here for you tonight, and the first one is a little bit sad and a little bit touching, but I think it's important, and I think it's important that we all hear this story. It's the story about a young girl. Her name is Maddie, and she is 8.5 years old, and her family recently found out that she had several brain tumors, and they've had a tremendous struggle. And we wanted to do this story for a few reasons. Her parents really wanted others to know what signs to look for, who to reach out to if you happen to have this type of a tragedy happen to you. And I really wanted you all to lift this family up and support them in any way that you possibly can. And that's why we are headed over to Maddie's house to speak with her father.
Madeline is, or Maddie, is 8.5 years old. The half is very important to her right now. She is in second grade at Roland Mountain Elementary School. This year, with everything going on, we've had to pull her from school for the year. But otherwise, you know, a normal 8.5-year-old girl that just happens to have brain and spinal cancer.
So when did you guys find out that she was ill?
September of last year, her mother had dropped her off and she was complaining of a headache, wasn't feeling well, and we thought that she was starting a stomach flu. Through the weekend, she wasn't feeling very well. It started to be nauseous towards Sunday night. On Monday, Trina kept her home from school, ended up taking her into the emergency room at St. Mary's. They misdiagnosed her with dehydration, and then at that point her neck had started to hurt her. They thought that maybe she just slept on it wrong. The next day she was still not doing very well, and it was actually getting worse with the level of pain that she was starting to experience or experiencing. We took her into the Children's ER at Renown, and within an hour or so they had diagnosed there was something neurological going on. She had hydrocephalus, which is a buildup of pressure in the spinal fluid of the brain. Probably an hour and a half after that, they told us that she needed to see a specialist, that they were going to go ahead and get that taken care of for us. And we thought they were scheduling an appointment with somebody here in town. It turned out that they were trying to figure out whether they were going to airlift her to the Bay Area or airlift her to Las Vegas. So she was in Las Vegas that night, and then at 7 a.m. in the morning they operated to relieve pressure in her head. And
what was her actual diagnosis?
Her diagnosis at that time was just the hydrocephalus, but really there are only a handful of things that do that. Hers would have been, at this stage, trauma or some type of tumor, or potentially even infection that would block the fluid from being able to circulate. But they operated to relieve the pressure, put in a temporary valve that effectively allowed them to release the pressure when it needed to be released. And then they started to do a battery of tests, but really the spinal fluid, as they were testing it, didn't present itself as infection, didn't present itself as a tumor or anything that was cancer. So really 2.5 weeks in the hospital, we didn't know anything more.
Right.
They finally said that they had to go in to actually take a biopsy of the material. The issue being that up front they had told us they wouldn't do that because the brain stem, which is where the bulk of her tumors are, in addition to up and down her spinal column, it's very sensitive. It's all the automatic functions of your body, and you know, if they do something wrong there, you know, they could effectively stop her breathing, stop her heart.
So right now she has multiple tumors in her brain.
Yeah, when we finally did get the biopsy material back, her doctors in Las Vegas classified her tumors as ependymoma. But there were some things with the way the tumors were presenting themselves that weren't, I guess, typical. So her doctors elected to send the biopsy to St. Jude's. St. Jude's came back with a classification of glioma, which is a slightly different type of tumor. The ependymoma, as I understand it, is much more serious. Given that there were two different diagnoses, her doctors in Las Vegas, that is, wanted to send the biopsy material to Boston Children's Hospital, which is, I guess, where the gentleman who invented this stain test that both of the groups relied on is the head of their pediatric oncology, or neurology, excuse me. he evaluated all of the biopsies that were taken and said, well, good news, bad news. The good news is you're both right. The bad news is she's got what amounts to compound tumors that, are in her brainstem and then up and down her spinal column.
So where is she at in her treatment right now?
She is very close to finishing her radiation treatments.
Okay.
She's done 38. She's got 2 left, which will happen Monday or Tuesday of next week. Previously, she's done 2 rounds of chemotherapy. They wanted to do a couple of rounds and then give her scans and an MRI to see how the tumors were reacting to the chemotherapy. It turned out that the tumors were still growing actually fairly aggressively, so they pulled her out of chemotherapy to put her straight into radiation.
Into radiation. So what is her actual prognosis?
As I understand it, or the doctors? Well,
as you understand it.
We're swinging for the fences. I mean, it is a very aggressive pediatric brain cancer that, most of the time is fatal, but, if there's a chance, that's where we're going, and
Absolutely.
We're swinging for the fences.
So how has Maddie's diagnosis changed your life and Trina's life?
Wow.
Because none of her treatments happen here, right? You have to travel
No,
for
everything's in
everything.
Las Vegas, yeah, and she's Monday through Friday.
Trina's given up her job to care for Maddie, correct?
Yeah, and I've been lucky enough that, I can still work remotely with, laptop and cell phone, but yeah, it's tough. We're in Vegas. Trina and I have switched off every other week of being in Las Vegas with Maddie. When Trina and Maddie are in Vegas, we fly them back and forth. I drive back and forth. Yeah,
So financially, it has to be devastating in addition to the emotional devastation.
It's noticeable. Yeah.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, no, we're making it work, but at the end of the day, we're doing whatever we have to. I mean, it's our baby girl.
That's right. That's right. So there's been some organizations here in Reno that have played a big part in your care for Maddie and your financial assistance. So let's just briefly talk about the Northern Nevada Children's Cancer Foundation, just an amazing organization. And I'd just like for you to share what they've done for you so that others understand what they do and how important their role is in this community.
Wow, everything. I mean, I can't say enough positive about them. Literally early on, day one, I mean, they were there to let us know what needed to be done, what we were facing. I think, like a lot of parents, we were shell-shocked initially, and I mean, not that we still aren't, it's just we've got to take care of business now. But they stepped in and,
They're a great
just anything
resource.
and everything that we needed. They gave us a heads up on things that we needed to do or that we had access to, or, just even silly things, well, not silly things, that's a bad choice of words, but gas cards to, for driving back
travel.
and forth, just, things that we probably wouldn't have thought of but would have encountered on our own that
They get right down to the bare
well, we're not
bones of what
reinventing
people
the wheel.
need.
They know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
very definite structure, not that everyone's the same, but they've been through it many times. They're very good with what they do, and, they, like I
I've
said,
heard
I
many
can't say
people
enough
say that.
good things.
Yeah. And then Make-A-Wish, Maddie's connected with Make-A-Wish as well.
Yeah, Make-A-Wish, we were down a couple of weekends ago to do her interview for her actual wish. It's ongoing that we're working with the people over at Make-A-Wish to make that happen, but yeah, it should be pretty exciting and something that Maddie will love.
I'm sure. And then, of course, we can't have this conversation without talking about the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah, they've been awesome, and it was something that initially, with Maddie being in the hospital, Trina and I both elected not to leave the hospital just because there was so much going on. But now with radiation, it is an outpatient treatment, so she's at the treatment facility for about an hour a day, and other than that, we're kind of on our own. But I mean, we initially thought we'd try it, and then we could stay at a hotel if we didn't like it, but they are amazing. I mean, they're geared for
So you
kids
use the
that are...
one in Las Vegas.
We do, that's, yeah, where all Maddie's treatments are taking place, but they're amazing. But with that being said, every single house operates essentially the same. I mean, it is it's just anything and everything that the child or parents could need or want anytime, 24/7. They are there, and they're great.
Great resource. I don't know what families would do in your situation without organizations like the ones that we just spoke about. I mean, can you imagine that, right?
I can't even imagine.
Can't even
It's,
imagine.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no, it's overwhelming sometimes because it allows us to focus on what we need to.
Yeah. Well, we have an amazing community here, and we've got amazing organizations, we've got amazing people, and I feel very confident that the community will circle around you and help you guys